At this very moment, somewhere in your backyard, a bird is vocalizing, and it is not doing so out of happiness. It is delivering a message, one as deliberate and precise as any sentence you have ever spoken. And some of those messages, the ones floating into your ears every single morning while you barely pay attention, are specifically about you. Back to Backyard Birdmind. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button, because what you are about to discover will permanently transform how you perceive every bird that passes through your yard. Most people hear birdsong and file it away as pleasant background sound, a signal that it is spring, or morning, or simply that nature is doing what nature does. But what your ears are actually picking up is a dialogue, a live, continuous, real-time exchange between dozens of birds who are actively monitoring everything that moves within your yard, including you. These birds are using distinct calls that carry specific meanings, and once your ears are trained to tell them apart, your outdoor space will never sound the same way again. Scientists have cataloged more than separate call types used by common backyard species alone, each one carrying a unique message, a different level of urgency, a different set of instructions. Your yard is not peaceful. It has never been peaceful. You simply did not understand what was being said. Until now. Let us begin with the call you hear most often and understand least: the rapid, buzzing chatter of the black-capped chickadee. You already know this sound. That bright, quick chickadee-dee-dee-dee that seems to erupt from every direction at once. Most people take it as the bird simply announcing its own presence. That interpretation is wrong. That call is one of the most refined alarm systems found anywhere in the natural world. Researchers at the University of Montana discovered that the number of D notes tacked onto the end of the call shifts depending on the nature of the threat. A large predator soaring overhead, a red-tailed hawk, a bald eagle, triggers a short call, perhaps 2 or 3 D notes. But a small, nimble predator perched nearby, a pygmy owl, a sharp-shinned hawk nestled quietly in the canopy, triggers a long, rapid-fire burst of 5, 6, or sometimes more than 20 D notes in fast succession. The chickadee is not merely announcing danger. It is characterizing the danger. It is encoding the predator's size, the closeness of the threat, and the degree of urgency into a single shifting variable: the number of syllables. And here is the part that should genuinely stop you cold. Every other species in your yard comprehends this. Nuthatches understand it. Woodpeckers understand it. Yuncos, titmice, wrens, they all speak chickadee. When a chickadee delivers a high D alarm, birds from entirely different species will freeze, bolt for cover, or collectively mob the predator, depending precisely on what the chickadee communicated. Your yard operates on a shared language, and the chickadee is the one running the broadcast. Now shift your attention to something else entirely. That sharp, crisp chip that slices through every other sound, the one that resembles a small stone striking another stone. That is your northern cardinal, and that chip is not a song. It is a location signal. Male and female cardinals use it constantly to maintain contact when they have lost visual on each other. She is tucked inside the thick shrub on the east end of your yard. He is perched in the oak on the west side. And every few seconds, one sends that chip, and the other responds. The exchange translates to, "I am here. Are you there? I am here." Cornell Lab of Ornithology documented pairs exchanging this call hundreds of times in a single day. A conversation that runs from the moment they wake to the moment they settle in for the night. If you tune in carefully during the late afternoon, just before dusk falls, you will notice the chips begin coming faster, closer together. That is the pair moving toward one another. They are locating each other before darkness arrives. They are saying, "Come closer, it is nearly time." And when they finally land on the same branch, side by side, the chipping goes silent. They can see each other now. Words are no longer necessary. What makes this even more remarkable is what happens when one of them does not respond. Researchers have recorded cardinals who have lost a mate continuing to chip into empty space for days afterward. Same call, same rhythm, same expectation of a reply that will never come. The surviving bird does not stop. It keeps calling because that is the routine it has followed every day of its paired life. This has been happening in your yard, probably for years, and you never recognized it as a conversation. It was a bond sustained entirely through sound. Here is one that nearly everyone misreads. When a robin positions itself at the highest point it can find, the peak of your roofline, the crown of a dead tree, the very tip of a fence post, and begins singing, people read it as joy. The bird is greeting the morning. It is celebrating. It is not. That robin is drawing a boundary. That song is a territorial declaration aimed squarely at other robins. This space belongs to me. I am strong enough to defend it. Cross this line and there will be a confrontation. Researchers at the National Audubon Society found that robins calibrate the complexity of their song to the seriousness of the challenge. A casual intruder earns a simple, repeated phrase. A rival actively attempting to establish ground nearby gets longer, more elaborate sequences, the avian equivalent of raising your voice, and the rival pays attention. If the song is intricate and sustained, most challengers retreat without a single physical exchange. The dispute was resolved through language alone. You have likely stood on your porch with a warm drink, listening to a robin sing thinking, "What a fine morning." What you were actually witnessing was a property negotiation being settled in real time. Now listen for the absence of sound. This is the insight that changes everything. When your yard falls truly silent, not a brief pause between songs, but a sudden, complete erasure of sound, something has just entered the scene. A Cooper's hawk has glided through. A cat has materialized at the fence line. A snake has begun moving through the ground cover. And that silence is not accidental. It is coordinated. Coordinated. One bird spots the threat and issues an alarm, sometimes pitched so high that human hearing can barely detect it. Within 2 seconds, every bird within 200 feet has gone quiet. Not because they all witnessed the danger, but because they all heard the one bird that did. The silence itself is the message. It means freeze, go still, do not attract attention. And it holds. Until almost always, a chickadee issues the all clear. That soft, two-note call that sounds like a gentle question. That is the reset. That is the signal that translates to, "We are safe again." And the entire yard surges back to life simultaneously, as though a switch has been thrown. If you have ever noticed your yard drop into an eerie quiet and then suddenly erupt with sound again, you were not imagining things. You witnessed an emergency alert system engage and disengage, and every bird in your yard understood exactly what was unfolding while you stood there. If what you are learning here is opening your eyes to what has been happening just outside your door, take a moment to subscribe and pass this video along to someone who watches birds from their window. They deserve to hear this too. There is a call that most people have never consciously registered, but once it enters your awareness, you cannot unfocus from it. The seat call. A thin, needle-fine whistle, seat, that reads almost like an insect sound. Titmice use it. Chickadees use it. Newshatches use it. And it carries a single message, hawk overhead. Do not look up. The reason it is shaped the way it is not coincidence. That thin, high-frequency tone is nearly impossible to pinpoint directionally. A hawk overhead can hear it, but it cannot identify where the call originated. The bird delivering the warning remains acoustically invisible to the predator, while simultaneously alerting every bird nearby. It is a whisper engineered by evolution to save lives without exposing the one speaking. The American Bird Conservancy documented this call across more than 40 species of North American songbirds. 40 species, all using the same sound, the same frequency, the same meaning. It is the closest thing the bird world possesses to a universal word, and that word means danger from above. You have probably watched birds lock up completely on your feeder for no visible reason, clamping onto the perch, eyes tilted skyward, absolutely motionless. They heard the seat, you did not. But every bird in your yard did, and every one of them responded instantly, because that single sound carries identical meaning for a chickadee in Maine and a titmouse in Georgia. Now, here is where your yard begins to feel genuinely different. Carolina wrens, those boisterous little birds that seem to claim dominion over every corner of your property, produce a call that researchers struggled to classify for decades. It is not an alarm. It is not a territorial declaration. It is not a mating call. It is a low, buzzy chirr delivered while they move through familiar terrain, foraging the same routes they travel every morning, investigating the same crevices they checked the day before. Ornithologists at the Cornell lab began describing it as a comfort call, a vocalization that appears to mean, all is well, I am where I belong, the world is unfolding as expected. The wren produces this call most reliably in yards where the environment remains consistent, where the same person fills the same feeder on the same schedule, where the garden is tended with the same unhurried care. The wren's comfort call is, in effect, a review of how well you are maintaining the space. It is the bird communicating. This place is dependable. This place is settled enough for me to let my guard down. If you hear that low, rolling chirr as a wren threads through your shrubbery with its tail cocked high, your yard, not by human standards, by bird standards, the kind that actually carry weight. And then there is the blue jay, the most audible voice in any yard. Loud, brash, impossible to overlook. Most people cast the blue jay as the bully, the aggressive instigator at the feeder. But that sharp, metallic JJJ call is not gratuitous aggression. It is a hawk alarm. Blue jays are among the most effective hawk detectors in the bird world, and when one locks onto a hawk, it does not whisper. It broadcasts, and it wants the hawk to know it has been spotted, because a hawk that has lost its element of surprise will frequently abandon the area. The blue jay is not only alerting other birds, it is confronting the predator directly. I see you. Everyone sees you now. Your opportunity has passed. Researchers at Project Feeder Watch found that yards with established blue jay populations show measurably lower predation rates, not because jays engage hawks physically, but because their announcements are so relentless that the hawks simply move on. The bird you dismissed as a troublemaker is actually functioning as a security detail, and every small bird in your yard is aware of this. Kate, there is one final call, and it is the one that pulls every thread together. Chickadees, those same birds managing the alarm network, those same birds communicating threat levels to 40 different species. Have a soft, unhurried contact call that has nothing to do with danger. A short, gentle seat, quieter than the alarm, more subdued than any territory song, easy enough to miss entirely. It simply says, I am here, you are there, we are together, everything is fine. Researchers at the University of Alberta found that chickadees modulate this call, depending on who is nearby. Within a flock, individual birds carry slightly distinct versions, vocal signatures that identify who is calling. They recognize each other by voice alone. But here is what the research uncovered that genuinely changes your relationship to your yard. Chickadees living in spaces with a consistent human presence. Someone who fills the feeder reliably, who moves through the yard in predictable patterns, who speaks in unhurried tones, begin to fold that human into their spatial awareness. The contact calls do not pause when you step outside. They continue. The flock does not process your appearance as a disruption. It processes it as a familiar, anticipated event. You are not a threat requiring announcement. You are not a predator requiring monitoring. You are a fixture, a recognized element of the landscape they describe to one another in ongoing real time. And when a chickadee drops onto a branch close to your head, nod, and delivers that quiet seat while holding eye contact with you, not soliciting food, acknowledging you, it is placing you on the map of its world and informing the flock, that you are present, the same way it would report any other trusted, known feature of its environment. That sound, that tiny, nearly imperceptible note you could lose entirely to a passing breeze, is the nearest equivalent the bird world has to your name. Sit with that for a moment. Every morning when you push open your back door and the yard fills with sound, the chickadee chatter, the cardinal chips, the robin declaration, the wren's contented murmur, the barely there seat threading through it all, you are not hearing noise. You are hearing a community that has constructed its entire communication system around your yard and has worked you into the fabric of it. They are warning one another about hawks. They are finding their partners before nightfall. They are staking claims, resolving confrontations without violence, whispering about predators in frequencies engineered to be untraceable, and confirming that the world remains intact, remains home, and somewhere within all of that, somewhere inside the layered, unceasing conversation playing out in the branches above your head, there is a note that refers to you. Not a human in the abstract, not a threat, not an outsider. You, the one who fills the feeder, the one who moves without rushing, the one who has been present long enough that you are no longer something they speak about. But you are someone they speak around. You became part of the language itself. So the next time you step into your yard and genuinely listen, really listen, ask yourself this: how many of those calls have been reaching your ears for years without your ever grasping what they carried? How many warnings slipped past you unrecognized? How many greetings did you walk straight through without knowing? And which one of those soft, barely audible notes, the one you have almost certainly already heard, without realizing it, is the one that has always meant you? If something you heard in your yard today registered differently than it ever has before, tell me about it in the comments. And if this reshaped the way you listen, share it with someone who deserves to finally understand what the birds outside their window have been saying about them all this time. I will see you in the next one.